They say some places are cursed. Buildings that carry more than just brick and steel. Places that seem to breathe darkness, swallowing up whoever dares to step inside. And in downtown Los Angeles, there is one such building. Its name? The Cecil Hotel. A structure with a history so sinister, so soaked in death, despair, and the uncanny, that its very walls feel like they're whispering secrets. And in 2013, that curse seemed to strike again. A 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel for what was supposed to be a short, solo trip to California. But instead of postcards and memories, her stay ended in one of the most disturbing, baffling, and haunting mysteries of the 21st century. What happened to Elisa Lam? Why did she behave so strangely in the hotel's elevator? And how did her body end up in the rooftop water tank, contaminating the hotel's drinking supply for weeks before anyone found her? Tonight, we're going to unravel this mystery together. But I'll warn you, once you step inside the Cecil Hotel, you might not ever feel truly safe again. Elisa Lam wasn't someone who seemed destined for a headline like this. She was a Canadian student from Vancouver, a bright and creative young woman of Chinese descent who loved fashion, writing, and connecting with others online. She had a blog where she posted her thoughts, her outfits, her inspirations, like any other 20-something navigating life and identity in a confusing world. But Elisa wasn't without her struggles. She battled bipolar disorder and depression. She wrote openly about her mental health, about her ups and downs, her worries about the future. Some posts were lighthearted and quirky. Others revealed darker undercurrents. Anxiety, exhaustion, a longing to escape. She was vulnerable yet hopeful, complex like all of us. In January 2013, Elisa decided to take a trip down the west coast of the United States. It was meant to be a solo adventure, a chance to see the world, meet new people, and push herself beyond the safe limits of her home routine. She left Vancouver, headed first for San Diego, then Los Angeles, planning to eventually make her way to Santa Cruz. By the time she arrived in Los Angeles, she had already checked into one of the strangest hotels she could have chosen, the Cecil. Now, let me pause here for a moment, because you need to understand what kind of place Elisa had just walked into. The Cecil Hotel isn't just any hotel. Built in the 1920s, it was originally meant to be a glamorous destination for business travelers and tourists. But over the decades, the neighborhood around it, Skid Row, fell into decay. Poverty, crime, addiction, homelessness. These weren't just outside its doors, they crept inside its very halls. And the Cecil developed a reputation as a magnet for tragedy. Suicides, murders, drug overdoses. It became infamous for being the residence of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker serial killer, who stayed there during his reign of terror in the 1980s. Another serial killer, Jack Unterweger, lived there too, strangling women while he pretended to be a journalist. By the 2000s, the Cecil wasn't glamorous at all. It was a cheap, dangerous, decaying building where the unlucky, the lost, and the desperate often ended up. And now, so had Elisa Lam. On January 26, 2013, Elisa checked into the Cecil Hotel. At first, she was assigned a shared room with other guests, like a hostel arrangement. But within days, her roommates complained about her strange behavior that made them uncomfortable. The hotel moved Elisa into her own private room. What exactly did she do to disturb her roommates? That part has never been fully explained. But this was the first sign that something about Elisa's stay in Los Angeles was off. Still, she kept in touch with her family every day, calling home, updating them about her travels. Until February 1st. That was the day the calls stopped. The day Elisa disappeared. When Elisa failed to check out of the Cecil, her parents grew alarmed. They called the Los Angeles police, who began investigating her disappearance. Flyers went up. Officers searched the hotel. Dogs sniffed the hallways. But no sign of Elisa was found. Until the footage. If you've ever seen the video, you'll never forget it. It's February 14th, 2013, when the Los Angeles Police Department releases a 2-minute security video to the public hoping someone might recognize Elisa or understand what happened to her. The video comes from the hotel's elevator. Elisa Lam steps inside, wearing a red hoodie, shorts, and sandals. She presses multiple buttons, as if trying to go to different floors. But the elevator doors don't close. She waits. Then, suddenly, she begins peering out into the hallway, cautiously, like someone is following her. She darts back inside, hides against the wall, then peeks out again. Her movements are jerky, frantic. At one point, she steps outside the elevator and makes strange, sweeping motions with her arms, her hands twisting and bending as if she's communicating with someone or something that isn't there. Her body language shifts between fear, playfulness, and something utterly bizarre. She steps in, out of the elevator, presses more buttons. The doors stubbornly remain open. And then, after several minutes, Elisa walks away. The doors close. The elevator works again. That's the last known footage of her alive. When the video hit the internet, it exploded. Millions watched it. Millions debated it. Was she on drugs? Was she hiding from someone? Was she having a mental health episode? Or something darker? Was she encountering something supernatural? Theories spiraled. The elevator footage is still one of the most haunting viral mysteries in internet history. But even after the video's release, Elisa was still missing. The hotel was searched again, this time including the roof. Yet somehow, police didn't find her. It wasn't until February 19th, nearly 3 weeks after she vanished, that guests at the Cecil began complaining about their water. The water pressure was low. The water itself tasted strange. It looked discolored, even black at times. Some guests described it as oily. Others said it had a foul smell. Imagine brushing your teeth, drinking from the tap, or showering, only to realize later what you were actually bathing in. Maintenance workers went up to check the rooftop water tanks, and that's where they found her. Elisa Lam's body was floating inside one of the massive water tanks that supplied the hotel's taps. She was naked, her clothes floating beside her. She had been there for weeks. The horror was unimaginable. How did Elisa Lam get into that water tank? The tanks were heavy, difficult to access, requiring climbing up to the roof, scaling a ladder, and lifting a huge, difficult-to-move lid. The roof itself was locked and alarmed. Guests weren't supposed to have access. So how did Elisa manage to bypass all of this? The coroner's report would later state her cause of death as accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder listed as a significant factor. No drugs were found in her system, at least not illegal ones, just her prescribed medications. There were no signs of trauma, no evidence of sexual assault. But still, the questions piled up. If it was an accident, why did she take off her clothes? Why climb into a water tank in the first place? Why did the elevator behave so strangely in the video? Was she hallucinating? Was someone chasing her? Some believe Elisa had a manic episode due to her bipolar disorder and climbed into the tank herself, perhaps not realizing the danger. Others think there was foul play, that someone else was involved, and the police covered it up. And then there are the supernatural theories. Because remember, this was the Cecil Hotel, a place already soaked in death and evil. Some say Elisa was possessed. Others believe something dark, otherworldly lured her to the roof. There's even a chilling coincidence. A film called Dark Water had been released years earlier, in which a young girl drowns in a rooftop water tank of a creepy apartment building. The similarities were so uncanny, so unsettling, that many wonder if Elisa's death was more than just coincidence. To this day, Elisa Lam's case remains one of the most infamous unsolved mysteries of the internet age. Her story inspired documentaries, theories, podcasts, endless speculation. But no matter how much we analyze the footage, the coroner's report, or the hotel's dark history, one question remains hauntingly unanswered. What really happened to Elisa Lam inside the Cecil Hotel? Did she lose herself to the depths of her own mind? Or did something else claim her? Something tied to the curse of the Cecil? We may never know. But the next time you sip from a glass of water in a hotel room, late at night, think of Elisa Lam and ask yourself, what secrets lie hidden just out of sight, in the places we think we know.